Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AKAAWOL, and today I am going to do something a little bit different here. I had this idea while having a conversation over coffee about using certain colors, and basically the wife and I were saying about how the design for, is it Bacha coffee, honey? Bacha coffee has this really cool old, like 1900s kind of stuff. And so we kind of wanted to look that up to like see where they got that influence from. And it turns out it's comes from Turkey. And I said, oh, there's, I liked a lot of the old designs and stuff from Turkey. That's where there's something called the Blue Mosque. And hang on, a little concentration here. Okay, so I ended up looking up the image for the Blue Mosque, and it turns out there's like a couple of these things. One is super modern, and that is not at all the one that I was thinking of. The one I was thinking of has these really cool tiles where there's burnt reds and oranges and all this really, it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I was thinking, what if I tried to kind of capture what that kind of tiling was? And I thought, that'd be a pretty decent challenge. Hang on, let me see, 3, 6, and 6. So I kind of got to it, and I played around with, I should have recorded my kind of doodling around there, or whatever it was. But I didn't. But I have the pattern is available to you, and you can take a look and see what came of my little experimentation. And I'm going to try to put it together here. Now, in the pattern I drew up, I made it like a point from the top because that would be a pretty easy way to do it. And really what had happened was I started with the center square. And from there, I was thinking that, like how to build it outwards or whatever. And there was a bunch of different like possibilities. Like there was so many different ways the whole thing could have gone. And if you're into that sort of thing, you could explore each and every single one of those different ways of making this turn out. And I would think that would be probably pretty darn cool. I mean, personally, I had so much fun doing this. And that's kind of why I'm taking a break from basically everything else I've been doing and the other projects that are supposed to be happening, just because I want to see this one turn out. So, and I'm bringing you guys along for the ride because, I think there's something kind of fun to be had in the notion that we can kind of share this moment of exploration, shall we say. And mind you, all I have so far is a drawing on paper and an idea in my head. Now, the colors I chose for this are not exactly as I may have hoped for. I know it seems weird, but I'm a little low on string. So I took what I had that was kind of close to what I was imagining, and we're just going to kind of roll with that because, none of them were ideal, but none of them were all that terrible either. So, like for this blue, I think I might have gone with something a little bit darker, maybe a hint of like, say, like a green to it. Not quite a turquoise, but just a hint. That might have been fun. That's part of the fun of, designing up bracelets too, isn't it? Is the fact that we can explore these things with so many different colors. We can find inspiration. Mind you, I would show you the picture that I used as my inspiration, like where I got the colors and stuff from. However, it's copywritten, and I have this strong desire to not get myself in trouble. So unfortunately, I can't even show you it. So perhaps one day, if I'm ever fortunate, I will get a chance to go travel the world, and I will take pictures of these amazing places that are brilliantly colorful, and then I will be able to make bracelets based on them and actually show you where the ideas came from. Or maybe I don't know how that would work. If you guys can actually take the pictures and then share them with me. I think I'd have to be very careful because it's how would I know whether or not you actually took the photo or just downloaded it off of a web page or something. So I have to be cautious because I've heard some people getting into some pretty substantial debt over lawsuits like that. So, but yeah, so this whole bracelet came from the idea of coffee, one of my favorite drugs of choice. And like I said, this pattern could go so many different ways. In fact, I even have some thoughts on how I might explore some of this stuff in the future. So that'll be something to kind of come back for and check out at some point, because I have a feeling I can do a whole lot with these. In fact, I kind of like to see something done really big out of this kind of style where it's just, it looks like a tiled effect. Might be fun for the thing I keep my string in now, the airplane trolley thing. Have something all the way down the side, just choose the colors from something big and famous and gorgeous like this. By the way, if you guys have ideas of like some of the more famous whatevers that would have a cool color palette and possibly inspiration towards a bracelet, leave it in the comments. I'm always open to ideas. There's so much kind of zigzagging and whatevers to get everything exactly where it needed to be. But that's where the graph paper comes in handy. If you have an idea what you want to do and you're trying to figure out how you want it to happen or whatever, this is, see, like this one here, for example, right? This kind of tannish color, it's got to come in and go back because the first one on the other side has to be the blue. And then this blue can't be the second one. I wouldn't want the two blues in a row. So then the blue has to kind of do a little bounce there. Right? So that's out of the way. Now this one will come down. The white will become its center, and the blue will then become the next one that goes in. So yeah. This is one of those cases where I actually am having to look at the pattern because this is semi-complicated. This is, well, it was designed to be complicated. It was designed to mimic something gorgeous, something very, the math and stuff that went into those tiles were phenomenal. So, yeah, of course I'm going to have to look. And yes, that does add to the stress level. I'm not going to lie. That's it is nowhere near as easy as some of the other things that I tend to work on. That said, a little concentration and the fact that it's I tend to try to make my patterns with a good design, a good sensible kind of layout. I know that to achieve certain effects, there's no other way of getting around it, but I do think that this is a more sensible design, something that you guys will be able to pick up and run with. And I think that this thing could actually work in a lot of color variations. If you wanted to do this with, say, sunset colors, or if you wanted to do it with beach type colors, you know, with the sands and oceans and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of possibilities for this one. And mind you, I'm doing this as single strands, so it's very, very thin, very small. It'll take me a little bit longer to actually make the whole thing, but that's okay. Kind of that came out of the fact that to double it up, I would have had to have made more compromises on what colors I chose. At this point, I just needed to have 12 strands. If I had to double it up, it was 24 strands, and some of the colors, I think it was like this rust color here, I would have had to have sacrificed it. It might have turned into like a red, you know, which I just a sacrifice too far. Okay, so that's pretty much the square of this. I'm going to hold off on what happens on the outside and do the other one so we can join it. And then I will go on to making it and come back and show you what came of it. Let's see. I know that both sides get a white. Both sides get a tan and this. And the outside gets 2 of those. And the inside gets 2 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 6. All right. That actually didn't go too terrible at all. The only thing is trying to get it sorted so that we kind of get up to the top. So when you do that first loops to like this, the backwards 4, to get that looped over there, you kind of don't want strings impeding that. So a little bit of caution to be had there. Not sure if my microphone is picking it up, but it seems like the neighbors upstairs are rearranging their furniture. It's just always something, man. There was construction going on earlier. I had to wait. There was a thunderstorm. I would have probably gone ahead and not worried about that one too much. It's just nature. But now the neighbors are dragging furniture across the floor. If you are looking at the pattern, let's say you've already checking out this out on my website, one of the things that you might notice is that one of the colors here, one of the strings, seems to be going nowhere. And that is the light blue that's like down here on this side, and it'll be down lower on the other one. And what we have there is a case of all these other strings are working and doing what they need to make this pattern happen. And there's just one string that's just in there to even out the number of strings on either side and make the whole pattern work. And so as a result, I have to kind of choose, here it is right here. I have to choose what string to put in that place. And in this instance, I chose this light blue because it does the entire length when it's making these bigger squares. It's what kind of outlines the tiles themselves. And so my thought process was, at any given point, if one of the ones that's getting used the most happens to be getting short and threaten the length of the overall bracelet, I can use the string that doesn't get used at all and make them trade directions. And as a result, I can save myself a whole lot of headache, and I don't have to add a string on later on, and that's why I chose that one. It literally could have been any color. So I just, I think I gave you a pretty good explanation as to my thought process. So hopefully that'll help you in any kind of future endeavors where you have a similar thing. It doesn't happen that often, I don't think. I don't think there's a lot of patterns where you have a string that doesn't really get used, but I mean, it's not even just doesn't rarely, it never gets used. It's not in the pattern at all. It just kind of zigzags around inside. It's kind of fun. If you haven't been over to the website, definitely recommend checking it out. I share the patterns. Sometimes there's additional insight. Sometimes there's just different whatever. All right. This is moving right along. Now the thing with the pattern, because I did do it all the way up to a point and stuff, if you wanted to do this to where it starts at a single point, obviously that's available. If you look at how I'm doing it, like mind you, I haven't changed it to do this. Because I draw in the whole background and stuff, I can see what the color lineup is. And that leads to an interesting notion. If, let's say, you have a pattern from somewhere, we don't even have to mention names, but you have a pattern from somewhere and you can't figure out how to start it, try taking a bit of my graph paper and draw it up a bit and, go a few cycles through. Go make it, legible and whatever. And as you're drawing it up, you should potentially see the different places at which you could start your beginning for it. And I think that'll save a whole lot of people a whole lot of trouble. Because I know that I know there's some people out there who start their bracelets straight across flat. And I know the reason they're doing it is because that's how their pattern looks on their computer or on their phone. And they can't figure out how to get a nice diamondy start to it. So this is graph paper. Graph paper is the answer. Typically speaking, most patterns that I do, when I have to use the graph paper to sort it out, it's typically because I need to know what is the sequence of the colors as I start. That's the most important part of the whole thing. Once you have that, it's just easy. There we go. So almost got this side of it out. Let's get this other side. This is the side that gets a little bit weirder. So inherently, see, I want to bring this one down, but it's not. It's this blue comes out and back. Then it comes to this white coming down and then back. And now this one makes the other blue go that direction. And then this blue. Yeah, this one blue, man, it really darts and back and forth a bit there, doesn't it? But it helps to line everything up as it should. So that's pretty important. And there wasn't an alternative way of actually accomplishing that. I always do try to look and find the easier way to actually work a pattern. I kind of feel like it shouldn't, your design should not induce stress. It should be a relaxing, fun art. And as you can see, this hasn't taken too terribly long to get this far. And considering I had to sort out colors, everything else, now that all that's accomplished, the rest of this should go just a bit faster. Mind you, this will probably keep me busy for the rest of the afternoon. Keep me from annoying the wife, asking too many questions and pestering her over stuff like what's for dinner. See, off camera here, I just got to look. Kind of glad there's not additional cameras set up around to get all of that. That look was not for the faint of heart. Now, when I was first doing up this pattern, I did not realize that this light blue was actually going to come out to the edge exactly the way it did. I had just started with the light blue in the middle, made a diamond, was filling in that diamond with something that I thought looked like a pretty interesting take on a design. And then when I tried to bring those colors outwards to see where they might go, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And so it's that was kind of a fluke. And that's sometimes that happens. That's kind of cool, I think. All right, so now at this point, I got to try to line these up properly. It seems like the one wants to twist. And it doesn't matter which direction this knot goes, it's just a regular knot, but it is the one that will join the two together. And you can see, like, as you go to tighten it up, it really pulled the two in, and that's good. You want that. So now this goes in a couple. And this idea came from the tiles themselves, where there was like these little bumps where the pattern sort of, I don't know, like the paint or something kind of comes outside of the little square. I thought was neat. So I added that in. That was like one of the first parts of this whole thing. These outer ones with the red, that came completely after. All right, now I'm going to take down the other side, do the same thing. And you can see at this point, this portion is relatively simple. I just have to remember that when I get to that second dark blue, to let it go over the top. Otherwise, it's just a long straight row. That's, again, trying to keep a pattern easy, so you don't have to constantly stare at your paper. I can't tell you how important I think that is. Okay. And now the next one is the blue is just going to make a diamond. It's going to come all the way down and bounce back. So that's, again, I don't think could be much easier. The part, the little bump coming out or whatever kind of gives it illusion that it's harder. But this bit right here, this is just a straight row. And this is more advanced because you are using forward and backward knots and you're having to adhere to a more difficult pattern. But it's not crazy. It's not like trying to do the curves and stuff because you're having, you know, all the zigzags and stuff that go into making that. This is kind of reasonable in my mind. Granted, I think sometimes I may not remember how difficult it was in my early days. So now the things I think are easy might not be as easy as I once thought. I don't know. If you think this is insane, if you think this is like absolutely would make you lose your mind, let me know in the comments. Tell me, like, yep, nope, that's super advanced, because I really think this one's not so bad. And if I'm wrong, let me know. Okay. This goes down to the white and bounces. And you get the nice dark blue dot in the center. Wow. Yeah. So I know I've talked about this before. As I go along and as a pattern develops, I tend to get impressed and pleased with myself at how things are going. And this is no exception. I really like this one. Now I'm kind of pondering the whole notion, should I keep this? This is nice. There's actually some Turkish areas here in Singapore. It'd be fun to take it down there and see what some of those guys think about it. They got the cool lamps and the other whatevers, and they used to have the what do you call those things that they smoked, honey? The Turkish thing. They banned it now. Those.
Shisha.
What is it called?
Shisha.
Shisha? Yeah, I never tried it. It's banned now. Probably best that I don't. Probably no good for you anyways, right? So. And the this one. Now, as far as the whole inner part going, I found that after I had had this first center one kind of sorted out, and as I kind of was playing with these ones, I discovered that this outer diamond out here, it had a lot of potential. There was at least 4 or 5 different ways that I was looking at doing it. I ended up having the wife help me try to just settle on one. So I think we did a pretty good job. You'll see that in a bit. But if you're like me, it could be real daunting to have so many possibilities and not know kind of what you want to do with it. But I want to just encourage you, don't let that stop you from trying it and maybe trying the different ways, because I know that if you're like a perfectionist and you're just whatever, it can lead to some bad practices that hinder you from your work. And here to say, just go with it, try things. It's fun. This is, to me, I'm having a lot of fun right now. I'm really glad that to have this moment. I actually have other things to work on, but I'm a little bit ahead, so I can take this moment to enjoy seeing how this would turn out. Oh. And the construction guys are back. Great, must have stopped raining. I'm not sure if you can hear that in the background. It sounds like they're cutting metal or something. I'm going to try my best to get it eliminated from the audio, but if you hear hints of it, I apologize. It's either that or I have to do voiceovers late in the night, and lately, by the time evening comes, my voice is shot. I don't know, something to do with the cold I've been getting over, so. So the side here, it's just this kind of beigeish, it replaced the orange, comes in, and then the reddish color sends it back in its direction. The dark blue does a little quick zigzag. The white does a zigzag. And the blue does its again. Mind you, see how this light blue, it was just something to tie all those other ones to. And now this one comes outwards. And at this point, I think I pretty much have this sorted in my head. I could probably do this whole thing without having to look at the pattern. Mind you, I don't know, the little bits up here where that one blue does the zigzag might kind of throw me off, but a couple repetitions, I think this pattern is going to be easy enough that it's going to be okay. And the light blue out here on the outside, this one, it doesn't have the break where the center one has the dark blue center bits. This one does not, so it just goes all the way to the outside. All right, I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to go and crank up some music, and I'll be back with a finished bracelet here shortly. What do you think? Not bad, right? Well, I have been busy this afternoon. Take a look at this. Let me just back this out a bit. And Yeah, that turned out amazing. I am so pleased with this. The one thing though, here, let me zoom back in a bit here. Oops. Okay. And all right. So when I was setting this up, I did these ones based on obviously the side parts, and I did this off the first top one, right? So that was easy peasy. When I started to get to the next one, that's when I noticed this little red dot in the corner. See that? And take a look at the pattern. So the top one doesn't have, this one has. That was the square I started it. Now, rather than getting myself all upset about the whole ordeal and starting over or whatever, what I did was I just embraced it. So if you look here, you can see that every other one has those little red dots. So I took something that was basically a flaw and I turned it into something pretty darn cool, I think. I am super, super happy with this. I feel like if any of you have the skill of how to make a bracelet and you're interested in doing something like this, I say take the graph paper, play with it, and see what you could come up with. I mean, this was really super rewarding for me. I just was looking at a picture, and the next thing you know, I've got some inspiration, and now I have something I'm very proud of. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, I say go for it. And until next time, don't get your strings in a bunch.